In an earlier presentation, we considered how baffled typical American drivers would be en route to the Tokyo International Airport. These Japanese are crazy. Why are they putting the signs in the wrong places? Why don't they tell me before? These were roadblocks that plague our cross-cultural driving. Now it's time to explore some of the types of roadblocks that plague our cross-cultural reading of the Bible. Because again, all Bible reading is cross-cultural reading. And hopefully, this will help us establish grounds for taking serious care in thinking deeply about how we Western people persist in ethnocentrically distorting the Bible. And perhaps, also, this will aid us seeing why the manner of our peculiar Western communication style contributes to making this problem intractable. We find this problem on display in a funny story out of the Jesus Seminar. They produced a document called The Five Gospels, the search for the authentic words of Jesus. Using their scholars' version of the five Gospels, that would be Mark, Matthew, Luke, John, and Thomas, Robert Funk and friends discuss Jesus' statement in Matthew chapter 6, verses 22 through 23. The eye is the body's lamp. It follows that if your eye is clear, your whole body will be flooded with light. If your eye is clouded, your whole body will be shrouded in darkness. If, then, the light within you is darkness, how dark that can be. Robert Funk and friends then explain in their commentary that in the ancient world it was commonly understood that the eye allows light to come into the body from the outside world. Light coming into the body through the eye from the outside world is an idea that is common sense to anyone exposed to even the basic scientific understanding of optics and light. Says the Jesus Seminar, light is permitted to enter into the body, where it will penetrate the darkness by a clear eye. Good is symbolized by light, whereas evil is symbolized by darkness. So, Robert Funk and friends at the Jesus Seminar are thinking like Western 21st century scientific people who have a contemporary scientifically informed understanding about light and optics. Light comes into the eye, and it's obvious, therefore, what Jesus is saying. It's clear. My friends, it's very easy to demonstrate that the Jesus Seminar's translation and its attendant commentary are completely off the mark and wrong. The ancients did not commonly think that light comes from the outside world into the eye. Let's hear what Plutarch says. For odor, voice, and breathing are all emanations of some kind, streams of particles from living bodies that produce sensation whenever our organs of sense are stimulated by their impact. In all probability, the most active stream of such emanations is that which passes through the eye. For vision, being of enormous swiftness and carried by an essence that gives off a flame-like brilliance, diffuses wondrous influence. Notice also Plutarch commenting on the ancient belief in the evil eye. Plutarch says, envy, which naturally roots itself more deeply in the mind than any other passion, contaminates the body too with evil. When those possessed by envy to this degree let their glance fall upon a person, their eyes, which are close to the mind and draw from it the evil influence of the passion, then assail that person as if with poisoned arrows. Hence, I conclude, Plutarch writes, it is not paradoxical or incredible that they should have an effect on the persons who encounter their gaze. So do you see, my friends, how ancients actually understood light? They thought that it beamed out from our insides, out through the eyes. They didn't see the brain, by the way, as the organ of thought. They thought that the mind was separate from the brain. It was located in the body cavity of a human being, where the heart is. And so that was the center of light. And so they thought light came up from this area, out through the eyes, and touched things at tremendous speeds. To our ancient ancestors, light does not come into the eye from the outside world like Robert Funk and his fellow Jesus seminarists mistakenly think. Plutarch is telling his readers the exact opposite, and Aristotle and Jesus would agree. Just as the main humanly controlled source of light is fire, so too it is because the eyes were believed to be made of fire that ancients believed humans could see. Aristotle observes, is it because in shame the eyes are chilled? For shame resides in the eyes. so that they cannot face one? Sight is made from fire, and hearing from air, and vision is fire. What does the Matthean Jesus say again? The eye is the lamp of the body. Think about that. Do lamps receive light? No. Lamps emit light. Ben Sira reminds his readers that this applies even to the eyes of God. The eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. So, was it really a common sense notion in the ancient world that light entered into the eye from the outside world? Hardly. And then the Jesus Seminar botches up the translation also. The eye lacking clarity is not really what the Matthean Jesus is saying. No, what the Matthean Jesus is really talking about is the human eye's capacity to harm people and injure people and other things. As explained by Plutarch, envy in the heart gets projected up and outward through the eyes, resulting in injury to the victim it touches, like a fiery stream of toxic particles. Whatever this evil light touches, damage can happen, even death. Now, maybe we ought to give the benefit of the doubt to Robert Funk and his scholarly friends. Maybe they had never been informed about the cultural syndrome called the evil eye, of which the historical Jesus and Plutarch and so many ancients ardently believed in. So maybe then their commentary and their Jesus Seminar translation was caused by honest ignorance, namely cultural ignorance. What do you think? Should we give them the benefit of the doubt? Well, when we hear the rest of the story, we would have to answer, not really. In the Foundations and Facets forum, context scholar John H. Eliot had written and published an extensive article concerning the cultural syndrome of the evil eye and the way it functioned in antiquity. This tour de force rendered a clear and thorough explanation of belief in the evil eye, providing ample documentation from sources both ancient and modern worldwide. My friends, a long time before Robert Funk and his Jesus Seminar produced the 5 Gospels, The Search for the Authentic Words of Jesus, John Eliot had published his tour de force on the evil eye. And you know what the damnedest thing about that is? Guess who edited Eliot's article? Why, it was none other than Robert Funk, the veritable Captain Kirk of the Jesus Seminar himself. So with Funk and Hoover, we do not have the case of honest ignorance, but rather culpable ignorance, sincere stupidity. How tempting it would be for us now to disrespectfully quote the Markan Jesus, who says in Mark chapter 8, verse 18, "Do you have eyes and fail to see? Do you have ears and fail to hear? And do you not remember?" I hope you who are watching this presentation are not blind and oblivious to the point like Robert Funk and friends were and still are. I hope that you can see that for us modern Americans and Western people of any stripe to believe that light flows out from the heart, from the body cavity, like a fiery stream out through the eyes and can potentially harm and kill people is all but impossible. And so we, good American Bible readers who know this, think that the opposite view must be the common sense idea held by all peoples at all times everywhere. We are ethnocentric. See, Funk and all Americans, like all United States Catholics, United States Jews, United States atheists, United States agnostics, United States Bible-believing Christians, etc., are just like most people in the world, in that we tend to hold the unwarranted belief in the universality of things, in what has been called the assumption of similarities. We arrogantly think that only stupid people would accept Plutarch's crazy idea about eyesight and light. We just cannot conceive anyone who would believe that. Especially not Jesus. The Jesus we imagine is really a cultural construct, an American congenial Jesus. And he's smart, just like us. He wouldn't believe in stupid things, would he? Forget the fact that cross-cultural studies identify 67 contemporary cultures in which belief in the evil eye persists. In this regard, concerning belief in the evil eye, it is our culture which turns out to be the odd duck and rarity. Belief in the evil eye persists in the contemporary Middle East as it did 2,000 years ago. What a funny story out of the Jesus Seminar, huh? Well, it's also a tale of caution. As Richard Rohrbaugh said, without clarity about the peculiarities of the cognitive world we Western people inhabit, communication with the Bible writers is simply impossible. the problem. Are we Western Christians actually hearing what the biblical authors are communicating? Only one half of the solution at solving this problem is cultural awareness of the other world of the Bible. We require likewise and to the same magnitude cultural self-awareness if we are to have any hope in grasping why Americans persistently keep projecting themselves onto the language and thinking of others. It becomes nearly impossible to understand why we Americans cannot accurately hear what our biblical ancestors in the faith write, even when cultural knowledge of them is readily available to us, unless and until we also know what is peculiarly American or Western about the way we think and we speak, and how radically it differs from the cognitive habits and communicative style of other cultures, such as our biblical ancestors in the faith. How fond we are of our own culture, of its manner of thinking and of doing. But my friends, ours is a most peculiar culture in the world of today and in all its history. The vast majority of those around the world do not share our culture and its values. To those who wrote the Bible, our culture could never have been envisioned. Whether you love it or loathe it, American was an unknown tongue to our biblical ancestors in the faith. My friends, these YouTube presentations attempt to give us a direction in which to solve the problem. And in solving the problem, our main work here at Bible Alive Presentations will be to explain why, despite our ever-growing knowledge on the cultural world of the Bible, cross-cultural miscommunication persists. What unseen obstacles lie before us, obstructing our way, blocking us, and seemingly giving us no option to avoid?